Abou Ben Adhem by Leigh Hunt. We're going back into the Romantic Age. We know the Romantic Age because we have looked at poets like Keats and Wordsworth and Shelley. Yes, 1798 to 1835. An age which was inspired by nature, by back to subjectivity, the world of imagination. The publication of the lyrical ballads by Wordsworth and Coleridge, who we refer to as the first generation of Romantic poets. And the age lasted till Queen Victoria ascended the throne of England and the Victorian age in English literature began. Poets we know, the famous poets, as I mentioned already, Wordsworth and Coleridge and Keats and Shelley. But there are lesser known poets. Lesser because probably they wrote fewer poems, probably they are not so much a part of our syllabi in schools and colleges. But some of their poems have lasted for all these years. Some of the phrases that they gave to us, may their tribe increase. So this is Leigh Hunt, and the poem is Abou Ben Adhem. James Henry Leigh Hunt, that was his full name, but more popularly known as Leigh Hunt. 1784 to 1859. Critic, poet, and essayist. He founded the intellectual journal called The Examiner, as well as a group called the Hunt Circle. The famous members were Hazlitt and he is also credited with having introduced poets like Keats, Shelley, and later Browning and Tennyson to the reading public. His parents shifted from USA to England. He was associated with newspapers and magazines like The Examiner, Reflector, Indicator, Companion, etc. His friendship with Keats and Shelley was legendary. In fact, it's interesting that a painting of him attending Shelley's funeral is quite well known. Charles Dickens is supposed to have based a character in his bleak house, the character called Skimpole. His important works are the collection of poems called Foliage, which was published in 1819. He wrote his autobiography in 3 volumes and a volume called Stories in Verse, which had poems both original and translated. Along with Hazlitt, he is credited to have contributed to the table talk, though there are 2 schools of thought about his actual contribution. So, James Henry Leigh Hunt is who we are going to be looking at in this session. Abou Ben Adhem has been called a parable. Some refer to it as a narrative poem because it is telling a story. Let me begin by reading some part of the poem before I say more about it. Abou Ben Adhem, may his tribe increase, awoke one night from a deep dream of peace, and saw within the moonlight in his room, making it rich and like a lily in bloom, an angel writing in a book of gold. Abou Ben Adhem, the name, is taken from a well-known Sufi mystic, Ibrahim bin Adhem. It is an anglicized version of this Arabic name. The poem, in a way, indicates a very liberal attitude because remember, here is a Christian poet but writing about a Sufi mystic. And the line, as I said, may his tribe increase, the phrase in fact, has become quite popular and we use it in various contexts. So what's happening here in the poem? Abou Ben Adhem, the Sufi mystic, is sleeping. A deep dream of peace. Remember, he's a mystic, he's a Sufi saint. He doesn't have the modern tensions that we refer to. So much at peace with himself, and therefore the dream too is a deep dream of peace. Remember, in deep sleep, and therefore a deep dream of peace. And what did he see? Within the moonlight in his room, like a lily in bloom, a beautiful simile, an angel writing in a book of gold. Remember, it's a dream. Exceeding peace had made Ben Adhem bold, and to the presence in the room he said, "What writest thou?" The vision raised his head, and with a look made of all sweet accord, answered, "The names of those who love the Lord." He's a good man, he's a saint, he's a mystic. So he has the courage to ask the angel. We're not sure, remember it's a dream. So the angel is just a vision. But he asks the angel, "What are you writing? What writest thou?" I want you to notice the slightly archaic form of English. And what does the vision say? He answers with a look made of all sweet accord, answered, "The names of those who love the Lord." That's what the angel is writing in that beautiful book of gold. All of us, even the Sufi mystic, does have a slight ego, the desire to be remembered as one who loved God. And therefore he asks, "And is mine one?" says Abu. And the angel replies, "Nay, not so." What a disappointment. But Abu speaks. Abu spoke more low, but cheerily still, and said, "I pray thee then, write to me as one that loves his fellow men." Service to man is service to God. We've heard that ever so often. So here he says, "Write to me as one that loves his fellow men." Does he write? Let's wait and watch. The angel wrote and vanished. The next night it came again with a great wakening light, and showed in the names whom love of God had blessed. And lo, Ben Adhem's name led all the rest. So the poem ends with Abou Ben Adhem's name being there in that book of the angel. And where is the name? Not right at the bottom, but right at the top. In this short and simple poem, you would have noticed that the themes are faith, love, humanity, etc. If you look at the poem, it actually has 3 quatrains and a couplet. 3 quatrains, can I just remind you, are 4-lined verses, and a couplet, of course, is a 2-lined verse. And showed him names whom love of God had blessed, and lo, Ben Adhem's name led all the rest. That is the couplet. There are a number of figures of speech, but I keep telling you, my dear friends, again and again, since some of these figures of speech you're very familiar with, I love to leave you to be looking for them, to identifying them, and probably sharing it with your friends, saying, "I found it first." So what do we have? We've got alliteration, right? The repetition of the same sound in consecutive words. Then you have consonants and assonance. Remember? The repetition of consonant sounds and the repetition of vowel sounds. Look for them. All these 3, remember, are related to the sound, and therefore you will get the full effect only if you read the poem, right? And therefore, deep dream, you have to read it to understand how the alliteration or the consonants follows. There are similes too in the poem, as I mentioned earlier. A lily in bloom. The room lighted, is like a lily in bloom. Then you have the metaphor, writing in a book of gold. You can take it literally, maybe the book was golden. But I want you to look at the archaic style that Leigh Hunt uses here when he uses words like thou, what writest, etc. Read the poem again to get the total effect of both sound and sense. As I pointed out at the beginning, this is a romantic poem. A poem written in the Romantic age. So wouldn't it be a lovely idea to look at other poems by other Romantic poets? My favorite, of course, is Keats, but move on to Shelley and Byron and the great masters, Wordsworth and Coleridge. Short poems, long poems, the choice is yours. But read these poems and read them aloud.